Okay, here's our second Thanksgiving Day video. I've got two 70's D-18's here. This is a customer's, and it is a 72, I'm pretty sure. And so is mine. So is your shop guitar. You want to look at the pick guard, okay? That's a dark pick guard. This is customer's guitar. We'll talk about the guitars after I play them. And I've not done this AB yet, so I just got the shop one out of the closet over here. It's pretty cold. It's over there warming up. So let's play them a little bit, compare them, and then I'll tell you about the modifications. Alright, this is the customer's D-18. I did pretty much the full Monty on this one. It's got Grover. Yeah, it's got Grover. 18-to-1s, which are like my last pair. I've only got like one more pair of Grovers left. I can't get any more. I buy mine wholesale from all parts and out of stock. Been out of stock for months. So I've been having to use Waverly's, you know, because they're American made. I can get them prices twice as much. But anyway, go over 18-to-1s. Did the bone nut on it. Gave it pretty good spacing over here. Refretted it. Neck reset. Popsicle braces out. Pick guard. Bridge plate. Black locust bridge plate. Scallop the braces. I only scallop the X braces. And so this is one difference between this guitar and the shop guitar. On the shop guitar, I fully scallop the braces. The bridge on this one is a Grenadillo. And I have used this before. I've used it on a couple of D-18s. I used it on the shop guitar at one point. But I didn't get the shop guitar spacing quite right. And it bothered me a lot. So when I replaced it on the shop guitar, I used a Brazilian rosewood bridge. Just because that's what it's for. It's to experiment with. I like the Grenadillo. It gives to me, and remember, I've had the same bridge on the shop guitar. I mean, I've had two different bridges on the same guitar, on the shop guitar. So, you know, and I play it for a while and compare it back and forth. And, I think that's a pretty good way to, okay, I think I hear a difference on this thing. And I think the Grenadillo has got a really nice, crisp ring to it. But it's a bassier sound. It's a fuller, meatier sound than the Brazilian rosewood. I first ran across Grenadillo on a Deering John Hartford banjo that I had for a couple of years. And when I was looking for a decent banjo, I was at Winfield, and I played every single banjo in the vendors area. And a lot of good banjos, you know. But when I got that John Hartford, and I knew nothing about it, and I just picked it up, and the first thing I noticed was, gosh, this is light, you know. It, weighed half of what the other ones did. Second thing was it was a little thinner, which I like because I'm small. And then I played it, and it was just, golly, I hate to call a banjo a musical instrument, you know, but that thing was the most musical banjo that I've heard, but at that time that I've heard. And I knew nothing about the tone ring, and so then I read up on it a little bit. I ended up buying it, and I had a really good friend of mine who's a great banjo player play it for me where we jammed, and gosh, I mean, it sounded good. So Grenadillo, it has a Grenadillo tone ring in it, and so I started paying attention to that wood. I mean, if it's bright enough for a banjo, it's a good wood. So I've used it on a couple of D-18 bridges, and the customer in this case wanted a deeper, bassier, meatier sound. And so that's why I chose the Grenadillo for this instead of Madagascar rosewood or even Brazilian. I got several kinds of hot rosewoods that I could use on this. I gave this guitar a 2 1/4 inch spacing, which is the same as the shop guitar. It's my favorite spacing on a dreadnought. It just a tiny little bit more. It's just great for the hybrid picking. It's comfortable to me. Best thing to say. Of course, I cut a long saddle on it. Bridge is slotted. Right now, it's got all ebony pins, and I believe he had half ebony and half water buffalo, which is a trick that what's his name? Neil Young. I was going to say Norman Blake. I couldn't get out of my head. Norman Blake. No, Neil Young. It's a trick that Neil Young's guitar tech uses. And, there's nothing wrong with that. It may give a different flavor to the strings. I don't know. But I put all ebony in this because I left the pins over at the other shop in Los Alamos. And so this is a all ebony bridge pin. All right, so this is a great guitar. I think the neck feels very, very similar to my shop guitar, which is like one of my favorite necks ever. And this card, when I was playing it, I actually had to look down at the pick guard to see which guitar it was that I was playing. It feels so much like my shop guitar, which is the only guitar that I kept when I sold all my guitars from the shop when I moved. I kept that 72 D-18 because the neck was so comfortable for me. and it was the only one of them that had the 2 1/4 inch bridge spacing. And all the rest of them, I ran 2 1/8 because I didn't build a new bridge for them. I just scoot the bridge in and did that. But on that 72, I built a new bridge, and so it's just a comfortable guitar. That's why I kept it. The customer's guitar is great. And so again, the two really main differences in these guitars, a Grenadale bridge as opposed to Brazilian, and it's only half scalloped as opposed to fully scalloped. And I just really like that. Again, like I said earlier today, I like that mid-range punchy sound that I get out of that half scallop. The bass is still good. It's, as opposed to non-scallop, it's got a good bass, but it's not flubby. It's not a flubby, woofy, blow out the microphone sound. It's a punchy sound that I like it. Again, I can always go in and scallop the tone bars. I want to see what the guitar sounds like with just the X braces. So I think that guitar is about done, providing the owner likes it, which I'm pretty sure he will, because it's a heck of a guitar. It's really nice. Sounds great, plays great, feels great. It's light. Man, that's all you need in the 70's D-18. It's a house. Done. Alright, this D-18's a shop D-18. It's been in a lot of videos. Nothing's changed on it in recent history. It's got all the modifications on it. Same as that other guitar. Grover 18-to-1s, bone nut, wide spacing, fresh frets, neck reset, popsicle braces out. It's got an actual real 1930s D-18 pickguard on it. It has a Brazilian rosewood bridge. That's the difference between it and the other one. It has a black locust bridge pit, and it is fully scalloped, tone bars and X braces. It has antique acoustic bridge pins in it. The other one has ebony. That's a small difference, I think. And again, as like I say every video, this is like one of the worst D-18s I've ever had in the shop when it came in here. So I'm really pleased, with the way it sounds now. It's maturing and everything. I hear some differences between it and the other one. This is the first time I've actually compared them right here live on video. And I'm not sure how to characterize them. I would go back and listen again. But I think this one, and you can tell me in the comments what you hear, do that. Send me a comment. What do you hear in the difference between the two D-18s? They're so extremely close that I think the thing you're listening for is probably the bridge and probably the difference in the scalloping. As far as the tops and the back and sounds, they're both mahogany, sick top. There's not going to vary that much. They're going to sound pretty consistent. Like I said, the necks feel the same. I don't think there's going to be much happening in the neck. People are individual guitars, and that's true when you get to like rosewood, for instance, because rosewood puts out so much more tonal spectrum, and especially if you compare two different kinds of rosewood, then you're in a different field. So if one of these was like African mahogany versus Honduran mahogany, yeah, you'd have a case for, the mahogany's making a difference. Quilted mahogany, for instance. And I swear quilted mahogany sounds different because I've had a lot of the Clarence White D-18s versus a D-18 GE, and the quilted always seems to have a little bit more something to it. So anyway, but in the case of these 272 D-18s, they're going to be pretty consistent as a stock guitar. I think this one sounded bad mostly because it came from Hawaii, and so it was full of humidity, and it was soggy sounding, I don't think there was anything inherently bad about the guitar. It just sounded soggy to me. After it got dried out here in New Mexico, it sounded pretty good. Anyway, but I think the main thing you're going to be listening for is the difference between the scallop tone bars and a little bit on the bridges here. To an extent, I think those two things kind of cancel each other out on this guitar. My experience with scalloping, which is, fairly extensive. Back in the day, 15 years ago when I was starting this, I did lots and lots and lots of A/B tests where I would just scallop the X, just scallop the tone bars, and compare it to a standard guitar so I could see what difference those things made. Because then I could always go back and scallop the other one, right? So I did lots and lots of things on them. And I think I found, it seems to me, in my humble opinion, the X braces control the bass of the guitar. So when I have these 70s and I want a little bit more of a richer bass instead of that nasally bass, doing the X braces is going to get you that. When you add the tone bars into it, you get the woof, you get the percussion, pump, pump, pump. You get that kind of sound, which blows out a microphone, but it's great for rhythm, you know, whop, whop, that kind of thing. That comes from the tone bars. However, if you got too much on the tone bars, then it gets too woofy, and you don't get that cut, that treble cut. Bam. You also tend to lose, I think, sustain. I'm not sure what it is, but it feels to me like sustain is too dry. You get too much of a dry sound where there's no sparkle, no, what's the word I want? Pizzazz, you know. There's nothing on the note. It just sounds all too dry, percussive, and woofy. Now, a lot of people like that, you know. I mean, a lot of pre-war D-18s are like that, where they're very, very dry and that kind of thing. But I have been in a room with two pre-war 1930s D-18s and in one particular 1946 D-18. And if I could have left the room with any of those guitars, never to sell them, my guitar forever and ever and ever, it'd have been that 46. Because it had that treble, you know. The others were dry. The later 30s D-18 was really, really good. I liked it better. And the X-bracing was shift on it. You know, it's got this X-bracing rather than the one up here. I just like that. So, I think that's what I hear on the tone bars. And I think that's what you hear here. This guitar is a little bit woofier, a little bit bassier. But having this really bright Brazilian rosewood bridge kind of mitigates that a little bit. Brings in more of the treble and things like that the Grenadillo bridge or an ebony or, you know, a duller rosewood would have. I know when I switched the bridges, I lost some of the bass. I lost that a little bit, you know, just a little bit of that powerful bass that guitar seems to have. And it seemed like it was a little thinner sound, and probably if I had better hearing, I could tell you that I heard more upper partials, more upper frequencies. That's what it feels like. It feels like what I would call a thinner guitar. Someone else with better treble hearing would probably say, "Oh man, that one bites." You know, it's got that high end sparkle that I kind of lost. You know, and again, a lot of that's just the feel of the guitar. There certainly was not bad enough for me to want to rip this Brazilian bridge off and go back to a Grenadillo. If this bridge ever split in half and cracked and broke off and flew off with the guitar, I'd probably go back to Grenadillo. But there it is, you know. Okay, so that's what you're listening to in the two guitars. That's the difference. I think that, you know, as similar as two D-18s are going to be, and the difference is going to be in the bridge and the scalloping. So tell me what you hear. It's really valuable for me to get feedback from people as to what you hear as a listener through a microphone, through YouTube, through all the compressed business. But, you know, if you're doing a YouTube video with a guitar, one of them might sound better. I mean, you know, you got to play for your audience, in other words, if you want a good sounding guitar. Because a good sounding guitar that in an acoustic jam may not be the one that you want to go on stage with. It may not be the one you want to record with. So in this environment of a decent microphone and a digital camera and getting compressed and going to YouTube, what differences do you hear there? Again, it's important for me, it's very useful for me to hear other people's impressions and feedback. It helps me calibrate my ears. That sound that I'm hearing, and I would call this, this, and this, you're hearing it as this, this, and this. It's very useful for me, and I think it's useful for everybody, really. That's why if you go into a recording studio, you've got a producer and an engineer, and they're over there saying, you know, that sounds pretty good, or that sounds terrible. You need somebody besides yourself to listen to it. So, Oh, what else was I going to say? There was something I was going to say about that calibration. Oh, I have a story. I have two stories for you, okay? And if you don't want to hear stories, you can cut out of here now. But one story was, I have two mandolins, right? I have the Chris Schott F5, and I have an Elkhorn F5. And I like them both for completely different reasons. And I took them to Winfield with me one year. And, you know, I get depressed like everybody does, and I think I'm going to sell all my stuff. I'm going to get rid of two mandolins. I don't need two mandolins. I'm just going to keep one of them. So I took them both and I set them out on the table at Winfield. And in our camp, we've got some top-notch guitars. I've got really good players, and they're top-notch mandolins, top-notch guitars, pre-wars, not quite Lord yet, but people who've played them have experience. I've got Gilchrist in there, Master Model Gibsons, Stanleys. I mean, you know, these got guys with good ears. I laid them out there, and I'd have everybody come by one at a time and play them, and, you know, and I'd say, you can leave here with which one are you going to take? And the funny thing is the camp is evenly split. Half the people said, this is the best mandolin I've ever heard, and they didn't like the other one. And the other half said, this is the best mandolin I've ever heard, and they didn't like the other one. And there was very, very, very few people that said, well, I like them both, you know, and I'll take this one. I don't know. But there were very few people that were in the middle, like I am, you know. So my point was this, is there certainly is not a standard. There's not something that, oh, God, this is the best instrument in the world, and everybody agrees. No, not that case at all. So, you know, one guy might like this guitar better, and the other guy might like that other guitar better. And it's useful for me to know that from my customer standpoint of view. I want to know, which one of those did you like better? Because that's kind of my target for you, you see. Customer with this other 72 said he likes a little bit of a deeper, powerful, richer sound. So I'm going to do a bridge, dude. You know, I don't want to put a Brazilian bridge on there for you. I think the Grenadier is going to do it. And, you know, they're that close, so it's just a little fine-tuning deal. Okay, the second story about that, perceptions and feelings. When I went to South Plains College in 1982, I got a degree in country and bluegrass music. That was the place to be. I mean, I had some, you know, great players in there. Stuart Duncan lived next door to me. Mike Bob plays bass, came in the next year. I just missed him, but there were all these great players there. My roommate was just an incredible guitar player. So anyway, I wanted to play a little bit of electric guitar. I was just starting with electric guitar. So I asked one of the other students, he was doing a demo, because you had to do demos of your songs, you know, to get in the recording studio. He said, hey, let me play electric guitar on that. He goes, okay, you know. So he showed me this little lick that he wanted me to play. And I go in there, and then he wants me to fill. So I go in there, and okay, you know, I'm not going to think about this. I'm just gonna feel it, you know. So I got up in the recording in the glass enclosure, and I'm standing up there. And I'm just feeling my little heart out, you know. Man, my headphones go off. And the producer says, man, that sucks. Aren't you feeling it? You know, I'm feeling as hard as I can. And later on, I learned some tricks in the music business, and that is to just make it look like you're feeling it, you know. Play something good and solid. Put your little articulations in there. And some people are going to say, man, that was awesome. I really felt that. And other people are going to go, this guy sucks. He can't play. You just never know, you know. So it impresses one guy, and it just does nothing for someone else. I know people that say Tommy Emmanuel, oh man, he's a great player, but he just doesn't have any feeling. I thought, God, if Tommy doesn't have any feeling, I don't know what hope there is for the rest of us. Yeah, you know, he's flashy. It can be, you know, but he can play stuff that brings tears to your eyes, brings tears to my eyes anyways. So you never know. So people like this guitar, they like that guitar. I just want to know what it is you hear out of it. You see? All right, that's two stories. Let's cut this video and get out of here.